Yeah, I'll always be a metalhead. Nothing can take that away from me.
Right.
I mean, not jail, not people, not religion, not anything. I'll always be a metalhead. Metalhead leaves you all alive.
You're listening to the Great Metal Debate Podcast.
Welcome back, metalheads, to another episode of the Great Metal Debate Podcast. It's Xander making a triumphant return to the show after unfortunately having to take a long hiatus. I'm back now, and today I'm bringing you a new album review from a record that was released almost 3 weeks ago. I'm of course referring to the international brutal death metal band called Maimed, with their crushing debut, Propagate Onslaught. It was released on April 19th through Sewer Rot Records. Now, I was actually given a press release copy of this album a whole 5 weeks in advance. So what's the reason for the delay? Well, the day after it was sent to my email, I was driving on my way to Nashville on March 12th to see a slam show and possibly could have done an interview with the band Frog Mallet. But, nope. Fate had other plans. My engine decided to completely seize up, which proceeded to fuck up my entire month. In my time of not having my car, I actually wrote another review for this album, but because I couldn't send my audio clip through the phone due to the file size being too large, I couldn't get this out there in a timely fashion. So now that the original essay and the recording ended up being a rough draft, this is the re-recording with a more updated review. I finally got my car back out of the shop on the release date, so I could have done it that weekend if I wasn't out running all the errands that I needed to catch up on, and now I'm back working 12-hour shifts. As y'all can probably tell, I haven't even had the time to scratch my ass, let alone have the time to do this. I hope that the 5 people who actually listen to this podcast like my opinions enough to go support this band. And they totally should, because I have many positive things to say about it. Much like the newest Aborted record, Vault of Horrors, nearly every song has either a special guest providing either additional vocals or a guitar solo. Speaking of the vocals, Kyle Messick is a ferocious monster on the microphone. His wet tunnel throat capabilities are absolutely disgusting sounding, and I of course mean that in the best possible way. If you are into brutal death metal, you would love these type of low gutturals. The harsh growls are accompanied by the main guitarist, Tom Hughes, and the bassist, Ian Dygolski. But we also gotta mention the staple in every high-octane, adrenaline-pumping type of music. What would brutal death metal even be without a drummer who can provide a machine gun fire-esque gravity blast beats? Justin Walsh does an incredible job behind the kit pounding the skins into oblivion. Apparently this record was mixed by Clinton Apalhans, who is also the bass player of Origin and Unmerciful. Before diving into this album track by track, I feel like it's also worth mentioning that the Torrential Gore EP is a great place to start when getting into the full length. It serves as a brutal appetizer for the chaos that this album brings. Kicking things off, we have Herald of the Maelstrom, which features the guitarist of Gridlink, who provides a solo. It is an all-out, in-your-face rager of a song, much like the following track, The Slaughter of Lambs. This one features yet another guest who provides another solo. This time, it's Dan, from the band Nucleus. Sometimes it takes a few listens before I can fully tell the difference in brutal death metal songs, but I've heard the next track, Death That Obviates the Appellation of Graves, enough times to be able to tell when Eston Brown, from Vulnificus, steps in to lay down some vocals. During my first couple of listen-throughs, I didn't notice the slight shift in vocal pitch, but after tuning my ears just right, I finally knew when Eston was on the mic. Eston and Kyle both sound pretty similar. Sewage Madness Folly and Armament and Brigandine are 2 back-to-back tracks that don't have guest features, but our Balester has Andrew Lee, the guitarist of Ripped to Shreds, shredding out 2 solos on this track. Prognation is the next track, which features not just 1, but 3 guest vocalists. The first of them is Mike DeSalvo from Acurion and former Cryptopsy. The next vocalist is Batu Setin of Cenotaph, particularly the Cenotaph from Turkey, not to be confused with the other Cenotaph death metal band from Mexico. Batu is also formerly in the band Molested Divinity. Last but not least, we have Jake Shucker from Maysaloon. The album title track, Propagate Onslaught, has 2 guest guitar solos from Cody Nar from Ascended Master, and it also features the guest vocalist Malika from Emasculator. Most of you probably remember her from being the vocalist of the band Abnormality. Forging Providence, The Futility of the Cosmos, is the last track on the album, but does not feature any guest. What are my final thoughts about this record as a whole? Well, it has all the right ingredients to make a great brutal death metal album. Plenty of down-tuned guitar chugs, bass drops, blast beats, and gutturals. What more could you possibly add when it comes to this genre? The reason I don't typically rate brutal death metal records so high is because of the bare-bones structure to this type of music. It's a simple enough recipe that gets the mosh pits going and the people's heads banging. Sometimes that's all you truly need. I personally, and again, I must emphasize that this is my personal take on the metal across the board, I tend to gravitate towards guitar riffs that sound like they come from a place of melody. Yes, I know I'm comparing apples with oranges here, but the highest ranking I ever give brutal death metal albums is 7 out of 10. So if I give that high of a rating, then this is what I would call high quality for that particular style. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely an enjoyable listen, but anyone who has followed this podcast for a long time knows that Gomthog and I usually seek out more soothing guitar playing styles with rhythm and groove. We don't look down on this genre at all. If that were the case, I wouldn't be wearing an Extermination Dismemberment shirt while recording this. I love this Maimed record, and I'm sure that most extreme metalheads will. It's just that I don't see it ending up on my end of the year list. Though I do strongly encourage you to give them a listen if you want maximum brutality. You can support these guys by following their social media and purchasing their music on their Bandcamp page.